She had her little difficulties, but she's here. I would like to introduce to some, present to others, Miss Jessica. She's calling all the way from lovely Augusta, Georgia. Say hi, Jessica. You have
You're
to
still on mute. All right.
Oh, can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, DFG,
Okay.
you're not gonna say to her like you say to us, so we can't get off of mute.
Yeah, no. What I usually say, Jess, is you have to be smarter than the equipment.
Yes.
but that's okay. That's okay. I'm glad that you were able to make it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've got 3 lovely sons, and my middle son, Marcellus, is autistic. He's 21, going on 22. He's nonverbal. He is severely low functioning autism. And that was one of my little complications today. He's been battling seizures. So we've been seizing since 1 o'clock this morning. So we just trying to make it through. That's it. Trying to make it through. So
well, let me introduce you to everybody on the panel today. First we have my favorite girl, the Chocolate Pearl. That's one of my sisters. We got my other sister, Miss Apple, and she's up in lovely New York City. Chocolate Pearl is in Jacksonville, and then we have Mr. David McInnes. He's a special ed teacher. We were just talking about how parents are the child's best advocates. Now, do you have an example of when you had to advocate for your son, that you felt?
every day, every day we are struggling with the school system now, due to his behaviors, due to the autism. And it's gotten to the point where I'm literally not working a full-time job because they're calling me 3 to 5 days a week because they can't handle the behaviors. He's got behavior coach, ABA therapy, and nothing seems to work. Any slight change with him triggers these behaviors, which triggers seizures. And once he has these seizures, he has combative seizures. So then we've had to get attorneys involved, because it's like, okay, how can I live, how can I maintain if I can't even send him to school? And I kind of came in on the end of you guys talking about like having a social life or being in social groupings, but it's difficult when you've got a child that has such severe issues that you really are limited on what you can do. So we have to advocate, because he's nonverbal. He can't say this is going on or that's going on with me. So I'm literally at that school, where's the behavior coach? Where's the speech therapist? Even though he may never speak, we still have to give him these tools. He's entitled to have a speech coach. He's entitled to occupational therapy. He's supposed to have these things. So he can't say, Mom, nobody came today. He's got a one-on-one there that helps him. But if she's not there, okay, where's the backup person? And if there's not, then they're calling me. So it's a struggle.
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know my brother probably think I'm taking over, but he's used to this.
Okay.
Do you find yourself wondering because we were talking about this earlier about my nephew, that he knows what he's doing and he's just frustrated? So he's frustrated because nobody else understands him, or is he frustrated because he just found out there's something else wrong with him and he doesn't know how to express it, and because he can't verbalize, is that a reasoning why he's acting out, which getting him upset and stressing him out to cause him to have a seizure? You believe that that's what it is?
Yes, I believe that any slight change, and he can't tell you, okay, I didn't like this, or this person may have done this, or I just don't like what's going on. He can't express himself. So the only way he knows to express is to act out, to have a behavior, to have a breakdown.
Right.
And when it gets so frustrating to him, then his body just reacts, and that's when the seizures take over. But I
Right.
agree. I think it's a lot of him not being able to verbalize what's going on. He's probably thinking, why can't y'all figure out what I'm trying to tell y'all, or what I'm
Right.
trying to
Right.
say, and we as his family members, my other two children, we kind of can pick up and we notice the different things. I'll tell them quickly what happened in school today, then they're looking like, how do you know something happened? Because I know how he's acting. Something had
Right.
to have happened, and then, well, I wasn't in the class and I know, someone else was there. It was, and I popped in so many days and it's like, okay, who are all these people? And this is why the triggers too many people around. It's, and where are they? What are they doing? Why are all these people in the classroom? These are triggers for him. He's used to maybe 1 to 2 people. And if you go in there and there's 5 or 6 different people, that is way out of his element and he's going to react.
That's what a reason why I asked you that, because I know with my nephew, DGF's, excuse me, not the right name. I
Yeah.
just can't stand his name. I can never remember the letters.
Feel good.
But I can
Feel
remember
real good.
when my nephew, he would act out, and a lot of us at the time didn't know why. We just, thought it was crazy. But
Mhm.
when I guess so many ways of him acting, we started learning his disabilities and how it works. And like you wasn't on earlier, but I was saying that with me, the difference between me and my sister of how we react to Daniel is I treat him just like anybody else. If you're doing something wrong, I'm gonna tell you,
Yep.
and to the point where I established that with him to where he knows Auntie don't play.
But
Yes.
you also
So
got to remember that.
I'm not even going to deal the cards because she don't play.
Well,
But
you also got to remember, I worked in the population, so I have tools that you may not have, and
right,
I know how to communicate better with the population, and that's why I have a different relationship with him than you do, because I've worked in that population. I know. I try to look for signs for triggers and things like that to try to avoid it. And maybe you
right.
didn't know to do that. So
And
that's
Well,
de-
and
that's
since
the
I didn't
reason.
have to do that because he would go to the other room.
right, de-escalation
He didn't deal with me.
is an art and a
Mhm.
Yeah.
skill.
So do you
And
think
you
that
also got to remember, like she was saying, um, as advocates or people that work in the population or have family members, um, we get frustrated, but we got to realize that they get more frustrated because they're
right,
unable to communicate, some of them, um, and they don't understand why we don't understand what they're trying to convey.
Mhm.
So if you take it from, if you empathize with that, okay, if I was in this position and they're treating me this way, and I'm trying to let them know that this is what I want, this is what I'm trying to tell you, and they're not getting it, of course it's going to come off, maybe with a little violent or disagreeable or what have you. It depends
right.
on the individual.
So it kind of stunts back to where I was talking to Dab when I was asking Dabs that do you think that parents need to take a class? I like the fact that Jessica, you can recognize when your son is in trouble
Mhm.
and he couldn't verbalize it. So you can tell that something happened. Unfortunately, other people couldn't. But there are parents, and probably Dab can back me up on this. There are parents who just don't care or just don't want to deal with it, and they send them to the school and let the school deal with it. And that puts on extra stress on that child as well as the educator. So I personally think that once you find out that your child is in this situation, that whoever is telling you this, instead of giving me a pamphlet of what medications I can put my child on, give me a pamphlet where I can go to a class so I can figure out how to communicate with my child better, or I can communicate with the educators and ask the right questions so my child can be taken care of properly.
I agree. And that's why we ended up getting the ABA therapy to have different plans, that because at the end of the day, yeah, he has a ton of medications. these medications really don't touch him, you know, and this is what I tell them, why continue to give him these things and they're not helping with any behaviors or anything like that. So let's figure out when I notice the triggers, I go in and I tell them, okay, this is what's going on. You know, let's limit the amount of people, or we need to put him on a restroom schedule because he's still, you know, he's totally incontinent. So, but he's 21. He's a young man. He understands I need to use the bathroom. So that's when that tapping gets to happen. And so then it's like, okay, well, I don't want to pee on myself. Who wants to pee on themselves or be in a diaper full of poop at 21 years old? So these are things that are happening to where he's becoming violent because he's tapping himself first. And then nobody, why are you hitting yourself? Why are you stop hitting yourself? Stop hitting yourself. No, he's trying to let you know something's going on. I got to go to the bathroom. I got to go to the bathroom. And a lot of times they don't get it, or someone new in the class, they don't understand, they want to call crisis management. He's hurting himself. He needs to go to the bathroom. It's something as simple as
it seems like the way you're describing it, it just seems like frustration because you don't understand what that means. I've been doing this for how long I've been in this class and you still don't understand it. And I take that back to the I'm not gonna necessarily say the educator themselves, but how the school aligns the different instructors that don't have that background, because obviously who's ever maintaining their class really doesn't know how to maintain that class. Because matter of fact, Dabs and I, when we were walking, I'll ask him how work goes and he'll tell me about different aspects of what happened in his class. And he was telling me about there's some of his students who have certain signals that you recognize, or you know what that means, or even if I think he even knows when a child's about to act up. And knowing that as a teacher or educator, or even an assistant, will actually diffuse a lot of that anger and frustration. So when that child comes home, he won't have the seizures, or he won't be upset, or he won't come home with a messy, clothes, because of the educators are not properly being educated to train these or teach these students, and they just glorify babysitters.
But that's
I was
right.
teasing him yesterday. I said, "Oh, you just a glorified babysitter," you know. And I was just teasing. He knew I was just playing, but it's just the fact that even though I was playing, it's true for certain people. If you don't have, like my sister said, she was, around that to where she was able to recognize and how to communicate. I'm not. But even though me and my nephew, we do have a certain communication, I do speak with him. We do have a conversation, but he knows that he don't come around me because he knows that I'm not gonna let him get away with anything. Like when we call him our grizzly bear, because at night he comes and he looks for junk food throughout the house when everybody's asleep. But when he's about to do something he's not supposed to, and if he happened to see me, he turns the other way.
That's my sister. You right with my sister with that. Like, Jessica, don't let him do this. Well, you gotta.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not as hard as I say I'm portraying myself to be, but I do recognize certain signs when it comes down to him, because I do pay attention. But like I said, him and I have a certain rapport with each other to where he knows that I'm the auntie that don't play, and he knows that Apple is the favorite. I hate to say she is, but she actually is. She deals with her daughter. I can just say certain things and her daughter will back down, to the point where different ways of we communicate with our families, we still can recognize certain things. I didn't understand her relationship with her mother until I got to hang out with her a little longer, and basically on a one-on-one, and then I got to understand her, and then that's how we be able to communicate a little bit better. But it took the time for me to learn that, and I don't think a lot of these educators I know some of them just getting a job and they just say, okay, I'm just a glorified babysitter, so I'm just gonna sit in this class and let these kids act up, and I'm not gonna pay them no attention, or I don't understand them, so I'm just leave them like that, or I'm gonna call the authorities because they're getting on my nerves, type thing. We need to make sure that we have the right educators in these classrooms that will take the time to learn each one of their students, because each one of the students, whether they have a disability or not, needs to have a certain what's the word I'm looking for? I guess love from, you know how you say you don't have favorite children, but you do.
Mhm.
But you handle each child differently. Even though you said you have 3 boys, and even though you have one that's, have a disability, you still love them all the same, but you treat them differently because
Right.
each child have a different handicap, whether you want to really call it a handicap or not. But everybody has some type of handicap that you got to deal with them in a different way. We need that in our school systems to where I hate the fact that your child is not being attended to like he needs to be, because if he's tapping his leg, his hand on his leg, and that says I got to go to the bathroom, and you keep getting a rotation of different instructors coming in, that's going to disturb my mind too. Because when I keep getting a different person each time, that means I got to now your son got to retrain
This
these
person.
people all over
Yeah.
again.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
And that's disturbing.
but that's the
Mhm.
part of autism that is always a challenge, because any type of change can be a trigger.
Mhm.
At one point, I remember with Daniel, it he knew the way I drove home every time. If I could not go to the store because if I made the left too soon or too late, that was it. Now, Dabs, the question is that how long does it take for you to, on a typical school year, how long does it take for you to learn a child's routine or a child's triggers?
Well, really could depend on the child. I've been at this for a long time, so I'm pretty good at it. To tell you the truth, to learning the child's trigger. And another thing, is we like to call it needs and not disabilities.
Right.
So
Yeah, and my sister fusses at me all the time because I don't know the terminology.
I know
correct.
the kids all have different needs, so we have to take care of them differently. But usually I can figure it out pretty quick, and then a lot of times I'm pretty stern. Some kids do stuff they've done and haven't done. I look at the whole thing, I think, a whole lot different than a lot of teachers. A little less babying and a little more teaching versus
Right.
I mean, they're all people. I mean, there's not enough people treating them like people. That's the problem. That's where they get lost too. So and that's another way to find out how they really are going to react to certain things. And that's how fast, I usually realize how, what we're triggering and what we're not. Because sometimes you got to try it. They're gonna try you, so you got to try them.
Yeah,
that's how you learn. That's how you learn.
That's a big thing with that, is that sometimes you got to let them go to find out what's going
Right.
to their limit. Now, unlike Jessica's son, Daniel's he's very verbal. He may not
Yes.
always articulate, and sometimes I gotta say, use your words, speak slowly, spell it out. But you know, the key is to remain as calm as you can and just listen. And they don't have to speak for them to listen, for you to listen. You got to pay attention. And this is what a lot of parents have a challenge with, is because in this world we're so instant everything and our attention spans are so short, we don't know how we don't listen because we're too busy we're too busy looking at the trees to see the forest. Do you ever have that issue, Jessica?
Yes. Yes. I want things to be a certain way, and I don't allow Marcellus to just express himself, and I you want to keep them safe. You don't want anything to happen. But at the end of the day, I thought about it when we were in Illinois living. We've got a 3-story home, and before he got with the behaviors as bad, I didn't hold his hand every time he go up and down them stairs. He just go. He do what he want. Get in the refrigerator. Like your sister said, you kind of got to lock the refrigerator up. But at the end of the day, they are their needs are different. And then if you're holding them as a baby, and it's like, I'm 21, Mom, let me do a little bit more. And I was at school the other day, and it was a different person in, and she's breaking his food up, which he will grab everything and stuff in his mouth. So you have to break it up, but she's hand feeding him. And I said, why are you feeding him like that? Well, I didn't know he could feed us. You just put it on the plate and break it up and let him eat. Yeah, eat. So that's the thing. You always that babying part. No, he's 21. Let him feed himself. He'll eat it. He may not be able to put it on a spoon and put it in his mouth, but that fork he can get that and get that piece of meat on that fork and put it on his mouth and eat. And a lot of times they even me, you tend to want to kind of do things for them, and they don't really need us to do everything for them. They, do a lot on their own if we just give them that opportunity, So that's, every child or young adult that has, a different need, every need is totally different, and Marcellus understands everything. He's nonverbal. He can't tell your secrets, but believe me, he know what you're doing, so it's like you got to be careful because he may repeat that, and it's like, where you get that from, boy? But then he understands so much more. You'll do something and you'll turn around and look, and why is he laughing at you? Because he knows what's going on, and he's laughing and probably saying, y'all think I don't have a clue, and I know exactly what's going on, but I just can't communicate it.
Well, that's the thing when my brother was saying about the differences in my nephew's speech and his learning, that he actually taught himself how to put cars together. He took it apart and he'll put it back together, or he taught himself how to use a computer. He posts things all the time, so they know what they're doing. It's just that you as an educator need to know how to understand him without disturbing him. If I'm saying that right.
No, that's about that. That's accurate. And I'm going to say most people in the special education field are dedicated, hardworking professionals. You got a few that are just there for the check, but for the most part, they're hardworking, dedicated individuals. But like I said before, they're people. Right. They get like you get frustrated, like our children get frustrated, they get frustrated. And we have to be able to understand that sometimes they're not going to give you their best is not going to be good enough. But that's a part of being human. Some days we can do everything right and still not get the result we want. It's just intensified because we have a child with special needs.
Exactly.
But what's as far as we talked about some of the issues. What are some of the joys that you have, milestones that Marcellus has reached that just brought joy to your heart?
People will look at us and I'll show pictures and videos and they'll say, "There's an elephant y'all up on." Yes, we up on an elephant. We do different things. And Marcellus, we treat him like we go on vacation. We do everything. And people are like, "Are you sure he can handle that?" Yes, we can handle it, because then of course, if he has a seizure, we know what to do with these different seizures. But his milestones, I think, are even being able to help dress himself. He knows to put his head down and put his arm in the sleeve, things like that. They didn't say he'd make it past 5. He's 21. So I'm thankful and grateful that he's doing that. They didn't think he would be able to walk. He didn't walk till he was 3.5 years old. So, these are things that I am so grateful for. And I tell my sister, she said, "Girl, he let him come out the door." And I say, "No, because he run better than he walks, so you better leave him inside." He shoulder too. So yeah. So yeah. And
at least he doesn't totally disrobe when he has.
Yeah, I was just about to say that my nephew don't like to keep no clothes on. He know how to dress himself. He just don't want to put no clothes on. They don't like to keep him no shoes, no clothes.
Yeah. In the middle of the night, though, my cousin told me he was in St. Louis. That's the only person that's actually able to keep him. And I know he's safe. He's got him because he's got an autistic son as well. And he joked with me and says, Marcellus was in the middle of the night walking through the house, and my wife yelled, "Michael, what's going on? What's that?" Marcellus running through the house, and Peter up, and I said, "Oh, Lord have mercy, he was naked." So I think that's something they all like. So yeah.
My nephew, he disrobed while his mother was driving.
Oh goodness. Yeah.
She had to pull over and make him put his clothes back on. But it's just, I guess that's just a restraint. And
Mhm.
if we can get away with it, I probably would too. I
Yeah.
know my sister Apple, if she can get away with walking naked in the street, then she probably would, because she don't like clothes either. So it might.
Absolutely. And I want to say he probably was hot.
Yeah, and that's something they can control. They figure they can get out of them clothes because they can take them off. So that's something that they have control over. So that's something that I think that they enjoy doing, because they know, well, I got control over these clothes. I'm gonna take them off. So
Mhm.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the thing. Go ahead.
Dabs, have you had a student that had to disrobe at any time?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Do they
We got
fully
one kid.
disrobe, or are they just partially?
We got one kid. Whenever he goes to the restroom, he disrobes completely,
Yeah.
and he sits
Well,
in there.
I know some
He
adults
sits in
that
there
do
for
that.
half an hour.
yes.
Yeah, I have some adults that cannot use the bathroom without completely disrobing.
Yeah, completely.
But they don't have any needs.
Now, Dabs, does your school have quiet rooms or stimulation
Yes.
rooms?
Yeah.
We found those to be like, oh my gosh, they were godsends.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You need them. Yeah.
And we're fighting to get this at Marcellus' school because they don't have that here. When he was in Illinois, they had it, and his current school doesn't have any quiet rooms or rooms just for them to get away. They have nothing, and it's terrible because Marcellus is in the class alone. He's got one young man that comes in 2 hours a day. Other than that, with his behaviors being so severe, they literally have given him his own classroom. And they said, well, this is kind of like you want, because it's not, because
No, it's
he's still
not.
in the same
He needs to
room.
still interact with other people,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he's in these four walls alone. So then they'll take him out and let him walk in the hall and do different things. But okay, now he's in, because there's general ed students at the same school. So the bell ring, that's a trigger that's setting them off, because that bell is ringing. Then these kids are on the hall. I said, you guys, it has to be a change. So I've been trying to get this implemented, and by the time it gets there, he'll be out of the school system, but at least they'll know this school needs him.
I know.
Is there not any private special needs schools in the area?
There is one, and I visited twice, and it's no, I just no, I
Georgia's awful when it comes to special.
Yeah.
Georgia and South Carolina to add that most of the Solid South does not put resources in for special needs. As far as a quiet room, I know in Texas they made a corner that was a quiet area. They basically made a giant tent, soundproofed it, and had no light in there. Mm-hmm. And it just had soft stuff in there. So when Daniel would get agitated, they got him to that room, and it was in the same room, but it was a different atmosphere.
Right.
It was able for him to
yeah. We used to have some of them with little century room. It don't have to be big.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I've been told them that there's a closet area there that has storage stuff in it. Take all this stuff out of here and just get it padded, make it equipped enough, just that literally he's the only one in the room, so it wouldn't need to be very big at all. So but I'm struggling.
Do you have a support group to where y'all can basically, and I'm just using ghetto terms, gang up on the administrators and say, look, we need y'all need to do better with this education. I'm sorry, I'm cold. I won't turn my heat on. I'm in Florida, so there's no sense in me turning it on, even though it's cold. Gang up on them and say, look, we need, better facilities or a better classroom, or I don't want my child to be singled out and be left alone, for those 8 hours that he's in school. Is there any way that y'all can have that support group to do that and talk to them?
I've had to find my own support team, and I didn't know I was legally supposed to have a parent mentor for his special needs, you know, the entire time. This is the last year in school. I'm just finding this out about a month and a half, 2 months ago, that I was supposed to have a mentor guide me the entire time to help me. I didn't know this. So when, like I said, when we got the lawyers involved, that's when all this started coming up to where, oh, well, where's her parent advocate? Where's this? I had none of this. I had to go out in the community calling DBHDD and all these different places trying to get some sort of support, because I didn't even know the different terms for the Georgia, what the different waivers and things. I had no clue. And is one lady, and she has been my backbone for everything, even getting me help as far as diapers or supplies that we may need, adaptive clothing for him, like you said, because he will get in there and pull things out that he shouldn't. Even on the school bus, he's done it a couple of times. So, you know, I didn't have any support up until about 2 months ago when I found it on my own. And I said, it's terrible because now that I'm not working full time, I do have that luxury to say I can get on the phone when he is in school and they're not calling me. I can get on, I can try to do this, try to do that. But what about the family members or parents that just don't have that?
Don't have, right.
They
That's what I
just
was
don't have
saying about, I think that when you go to the doctor and you get your child tested because you notice there's something wrong, I think instead of giving me a list of medications, give me a list of the support I need in order
Right.
to understand what's going on with my child, and to make sure I can get them the help that they need. And
Right.
I just hate that hearing this, that they don't have that, because bad enough, and then I can see it depends on the community that you're in. Bad enough you have problems with children who don't have any special needs, that they don't have the resources to help them. But we need to do better. Y'all sitting there worrying about giving me this extra stimulus for this and that extra stimulus for that, and or you spending money on this and you spending money on that. Spend the money in the right places. We need these kids to be educated. The teachers are paid terribly across the board wherever you go. They
Well,
pay terribly.
kids don't vote, so they're not going to get money.
And that's horrible, because my kid, I vote and I pay my taxes, and guess what? I pay my taxes because I want my kids to have what they're supposed to have, but it's not being spent in the right places. And like Dab said, he had asked you, did they have any private schools in your area, because you probably would have gotten a better outcome of knowledge if you did. But then you just said that you visited one and it was not what you wanted for your child. And luckily you did go visit, but still, it's just still people out there that just basically drop their children's off and say, that's your problem for 8 hours. I'm going about
and that's the thing. It's not the problem, and it's the area she's in. The educational system in Augusta, Georgia, Richmond County is not exactly top tier. You know, that's where Dr. Seductive works.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So she's probably told you a few stories.
She's been fussing for a while.
Yeah. So the issue is that like Jessica was saying, there are not enough, not only resources, but ability to find the resources. There's no central office in Richmond County that handles that steers you to the right people, to the right services. It's the same thing in most of South Carolina. Now, I know Richland 1 and Richland 2 have that, but when Daniel was in Georgetown, it was like,
but see, Georgetown is considered more of a rural area, so that's probably why they don't. Yeah, rural areas is just, it's not going to get what they need, and that's why they